You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 127 of Retired Racehorse Radio on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, Savvy Feeders, and Spalding Labs. Retired Racehorse Radio is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse. Brought to you in cooperation with the Retired Racehorse Project and New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program.
On today's show, we're chatting with RideIQ team on how you can use this nifty app to upskill your training game for you and your horse. We get the Making the Makeover update from writers Chris Bennings and Jody Busch and what's new with their makeover hopefuls. We wrap up with a training tip from Winnie Morgan Nemeth from New Vocations and introduce you to our adoptable horse. Stay tuned.
And they're off on Retired Racehorse Radio, the podcast that is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse.
This is Joy Orr in Detroit, Michigan.
And this is Kristen Kovach-Bentley in Jamestown, New York, and you're listening to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Kristen, it is the best time of year. It is that perfect period of spring to getting to summer where it's not too hot. The bugs are a little bit worse than normal, but not too hot, but not too cold. And as a northerner, I am happy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we said this before we turned the recorders on. Like, we are trying to pack now an entire full year's worth of living into 4 days.
Yes, I'm tired, but I'm living on the serotonin.
Yeah, I just have to put myself in a window like a potted plant, make sure I get some fresh air.
Yes.
So
yes.
I've been doing like 2 days at the barn because we're doing the grass rotation. So even though I don't ride on Wednesdays, then I still have to talk myself out of feeling guilty for not riding on Wednesdays. It's like, it's a thing. It's fine.
Yeah. I get that. Well, tell us a little bit how grass rotation's going. Because I know you did a post on social media. For all of you who aren't following, please follow us. We want you to stay in the loop because we share stuff with you guys there that's not on the show. But this time I'll bring it all full circle. Tell us a little bit about your grazing.
Little bonus content. Yeah. So we followed, I think it was originally the University of Minnesota's like extensions plan. But a lot of like, if you are not sure how to do anything, like basically anything ever, your state extension office is a huge resource. I always tell people because I think it's super overlooked as a resource for like basic horse keeping and like basic farm, maintenance and, keeping pastures good and stuff. So, but I just happened to land on that one and it's worked out really well. So our horses are dry lotted all winter, like no grass because it's a small lot. So they're on hay. So rather than just go and turn them out on the grass and be like, good luck, we approach that a little more carefully. So we start with 15 minutes and go up 15 minutes a day to 4 hours and then hold them at about 4 hours a day for 2 weeks. And part of the reason I do that is because, of course, we're primarily it's a beef cattle farm. So the pastures are like really nicely maintained, fertilizer, like very carefully mowed. We spread some manure in the off season. Like they're really maintained well to develop strong beef calves, which can be a little challenging to keep horses on because it is really, really nutrient rich. So I have to be careful. Yeah. So like it would not work for me to have like a Cushing's horse here or, anything that's sensitive. It works great for the racehorses as long as I start them carefully and keep a close eye on it. So that said, we did have Jobber was a little gas colicky the other night, but it had been a really hot day. And then I was thinking like, I think you pointed it out. You're like, well, 3 days ago, it was like literally freezing. And I was like, yeah, it has been a ride. So he got through that, sort of like massaged a fart out of him. And after that, he felt better. So like the glamorous life of being a horse owner. So.
That's like, I love how non-horse people are like, oh,
that's
equestrian. It's a vibe. It's a fashion statement. It's like glamorous. And no, they are not like this. Well, sometimes they can be very graceful and mysterious and beautiful. But a lot of times it's like weird facial things, weird squeals and farts.
Yeah. I mean, they're mysterious all the time, but not in like a cool, sexy way.
No, sometimes I'm just it's that one TikTok sound that's like, what's going on in their head?
Yeah.
It's that kind of mystery of what?
That would be so much easier if you could know. So yeah, it's been an exciting week. Yeah. So we had the gas colic, and then the week prior, Eric, I don't know if Eric wants me to share the story, but I'm sharing it anyway. It's fine. We took Eric to the ER because he got really punched up by a cow. So that was great.
Yeah.
The cow's gone. We can't have a murder cow running around because I have a 4-year-old nephew also running around. So murder cow has left the premise, but it was fine. Eric's fine. He's a little sore, but like I said earlier, he is literally out riding as we record. So
I
he's
felt
doing
really
much better.
guilty because for listeners who don't know, Kristen and I are in a chat group with a couple other thoroughbred, standardbred owners. And as you were sharing this whole cow event, I was crying and cackling.
Well, it was like, it's fine. I would not have been messaging if we had been like actually injured. Like I was like, worse.
Yes. Like it was obviously because everything was fine. I mean, even your comments, like Eric asked if it was on video. Like from that moment on, I knew we were okay, and it was fine to laugh. But
it almost was, because I was like about 2 seconds away from being like, I'm gonna video this because I had a feeling about this cow, and she went from standing quietly to like mashing him into a concrete wall in like about a second. So,
I'm glad you didn't become a widow.
That would have been a real bummer. Yeah, I don't think we would have been.
Would not have set your week up right, but
we would not have been recording right now. That's for sure.
No.
But yeah, Eric is back in the saddle. So,
well, my favorite part of the whole group thing is that you celebrated with burgers after, and to me, that was just like a masterpiece. Because it's basically,
if you're wronged by a cow, there's only one thing you can have for dinner. Also, there's only one thing you can have for dinner in this one horse town where everything closes at 8 and you just got out of the ER at 10:30. So some of it was just based on necessity.
But still, I'm sitting here, I'm like, this is a cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah. A little poetic justice.
Well, you definitely had a much more interesting week than I have had. Mine's been like busy, but not terrible. I did spontaneously sign up for a warm and fuzzy show with Miss Millie.
What is a warm and fuzzy show?
It is where you don't have to look like you're going to a show. You can literally show up in your trailer and they can still be shedding. They don't have to be clipped. They don't have to look braided. It's very low pressure, which for a thoroughbred who's had about a year of training's first show, perfect.
I thought maybe they gave you a hug or something, and I was like,
I hope not. Weird. I don't need that.
Like that's not the kind of warm and fuzzy we're after here. Okay,
I'm not. I don't need that kind of security. I'll hug my friends, family, and listeners, but not.
There you go.
Not strangers.
Yeah. All right. I understand now. I'm up to speed.
Yes. No. I love that you think that show organizers are cuddly people like that. I
was like, as a thoroughbred makeover show organizer, I can tell you I am not. So
no, it is. It's mostly just like very low key, great for either newbie riders who are getting into the show ring for the first time, like to build their confidence with low pressure, but also really good for green horses first time. So it's put on by our local 4-H club as a fundraiser, which makes it extra fun. So I get to see how, one, kid safe Millie is, and how well she handles children trying to navigate a show around her.
Oh, I didn't think about like the warm-up ring. Oh, go with God.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
That's one of the things about dressage I love. Like for the most part, you kind of get the warm-up ring to yourself, maybe one or two other riders, but dressage people are so anal retentive, like they're just paying attention to their own thing. And you can pretty much figure out the system happening.
Okay.
This is my worst nightmare as far as what a arena is going to look like. So you're going to have everything. You're going to have the hunter-ish riders getting warmed up. You're going to have the pony that needs to be lunged somewhere, and it's probably going to be the only dry space because it's early morning in spring. So that's where they'll be doing that. You're going to have the kid who's anxious and just needs to get on their pony and figure it out. There's going to be a lot happening.
Well, yeah.
And my one wish is I hope everyone can steer.
Well,
but it's perfect. Like we're basically just throwing her into the warpath and we're going to see what happens.
If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, kid. You're going to be fine.
Yes. So while I was hoping our first show would be our lovely schooling dressage, very safe, kind, quiet, we're going to do chaos and I'm going to wear a helmet.
Well, that's a good idea. Embrace it. Embrace the chaos. You never know. Mildred might be like, this is my scene.
Honestly, she's so good. Like, she's not very reactive. Her go-to is to just stop and stare.
Perfect.
I just don't know if we will stand in the same spot for 2 seconds, 2 hours. Whatever she wants to do, I guess. She's there to learn. But that's what it's all about. So in our own way, we're going to have our own Field Trip Friday.
There you go.
I'm excited to hear from our makeover riders to see if they've had any Field Trip Fridays recently. That'll be fun to listen into when we get to that point. But we do have a great show for you. We're talking to the creators of RideIQ, which I guess Chris and I are now going to get subscriptions. Not sponsored. We do have to pay for it too, but we have a discount code. So listen to that full interview because you'll get the discount code at the end. And we're going to hear from our makeover writers. We have Winnie Morgan Nemeth joining us from New Vocations. It's a packed episode. We love it. 'Tis the season for packing everything in. Before we dive into that, we're going to hear from our premier sponsor, Kentucky Performance Products.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
If you've ever had a horse with diarrhea, you know what a frustrating problem it can be. Finding an ingredient that works to dry up the diarrhea becomes a high priority. It turns out that researchers have found one, a yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii. It has been proven to improve and halt episodes of diarrhea. It supplies specific nutrients to the lining of the small and large intestines, and these nutrients promote healing of irritated tissues. It also supports improved starch and sugar digestion in the small intestine, reducing the opportunity for imbalances to occur in the hindgut. Nalox Advanced, made by Kentucky Performance Products, contains Saccharomyces boulardii, along with a blend of fermentation solubles and stomach buffers. Nalox Advanced is recommended for horses of any age that are suffering from diarrhea. It also supports a healthy digestive tract in horses at risk for gastric or colonic ulcers, such as performance horses or any horse that is constantly on the go and exposed to stressful situations. For best results, Nalox Advanced should be fed on a daily basis.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Joy, I'm super excited to have with us two of my favorite up-and-coming entrepreneur sisters in the industry. Last episode, our Make the Makeover rider, Dana, hinted at the RideIQ lesson series. And if you were listening last episode and you were like, what is that? We're super excited to have with us the founders and creators and developers of RideIQ, Kinsey and Jessa Lux. So, girls, welcome to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Thank you so much for having us. We're just huge fans of yours, huge fans of RRP. Just feel lucky to know you guys.
Well, it's fun. I mean, we've had such a fun, on the RRP side, we've had such a fun collaborative relationship. So, and I was like, oh my gosh, we've never somehow had you on Retired Racehorse Radio. So we're super excited, to introduce what you guys are doing to our audience. Because I think it's, we've had this conversation when we were getting started with RRP, but, especially for a lot of us on Retired Racehorses, we're, working without trainers or working without regular instruction from trainers.
Mm-hmm.
So having this service is just such a boon, to the retired racehorse industry. So give us the elevator pitch, what is RideIQ? Because we're gushing about how cool it is, but we haven't introduced what it is yet.
Absolutely. So RideIQ is a mobile app with listen while you ride audio lessons taught by the best coaches. So basically, you have a top coach in your ear guiding you through your independent schooling rides. And the goal behind it is to make riding alone more productive, give it direction, purpose, and focus, and just make those rides a little bit more fun. Because I think we've all experienced that feeling of in between your in-person lessons being like, I'm going to get on for 15 minutes, walk, trot, and canter, and call it a day. And it's that's not the most satisfying experience. So RideIQ is meant to make those rides a bit more fun and just keep you developing between your in-person lessons.
Which makes so much sense because let's say when I was preparing my horse for the makeover, my coach came in from like over state lines, like 45 minutes away. So she would come like once, maybe twice a month, and we would sit down and I take very careful notes at the end of each lesson and be like, okay, like now I know my homework and what I'm going to work on. I did get on the next day and be like, I have forgotten how to do everything, so having her, like if I had had a recording of her in my ear being like, okay, now you're going to do this, that would have been so much more helpful. So yeah, I'm just like, now I'm mad I didn't come up with it first, but it's such a cool idea to have that. So, what kind of trainers are participating? Like what kind of coaching can people listen to?
Yeah, great question. We have trainers across eventing, dressage, jumpers, sports psychology, and rider fitness and groundwork. It was like, I know there's one missing in there. There's 27 trainers total. All of them have a reputation for exceptional horsemanship first and foremost. And they also have a really impressive background as riders themselves. So vast majority of them have ridden to the top level of their sport and produced riders to the top level of their sport, which is really important too, just having proven their ability to coach. And then within that 27 coaches, there's a variety of teaching styles. So if you're somebody who likes to get on and get right to work, there's a coach that will probably resonate with you. And if you're somebody who likes to take it slower and likes a lot of positive feedback like me, there's coaches for you. So you can kind of work within the coaches that we have and find the ones that really resonate. And you guys were so kind to introduce us to Aubrey Graham, who did a 10 lesson series for the off the track racehorses. And she starts on the ground and then progresses through those 10 lessons to, being at the mounting block, getting on for the first time, steering. And we also worked those lessons with Aubrey into a 60-day foundational program for OTTB. So a lot of her lessons show up in that program as well.
Yeah, that's what Dana was talking about, our recurring guest who's preparing her horse for the makeover this year. And what is really interesting to me is that Dana is gearing her horse to ranch work, but is clearly finding a lot of value in lessons from other disciplines, which I think is like so key to training with coaching, is that like, it doesn't matter what, like that first 60 days is kind of the same 60 days for all horses. Like it doesn't matter what discipline you're aiming for, but you still need a good foundation. So I think that's really cool that you guys have that program specifically for that.
Totally. And I think one thing that's also really great that we're able to offer riders through RideIQ is, in addition to the mounted learning, is the unmounted learning, because I think that there's so much to learn about just like horse management and things that you don't have time to ask your vet or your farrier, or even like a strength and conditioning coach for yourself as an athlete. And we're able to, through podcasts and videos and various different types of content, are able to offer a ton of resources to riders that really support them both in the tack and out of the tack, which is really important to us, just because being in the saddle is only one part of the equation.
The equitation, all the equations.
The occasion.
Okay. And that's like, let's talk about that, because that's, I think, what people kind of miss out on. Like you sign up for the RideIQ app, but you guys have so much more of a support network also built around this app. So I know there's a Facebook group and you guys do like Facebook chats and lives and stuff. So like what else are people getting when they subscribe to the app?
Yes. So every week we do Ask an Expert, which is what both you and Kinsey were alluding to. So that's 1 hour spent live with an equestrian expert on a specific topic. So we've covered, I think we did our 140th episode yesterday. So you can imagine we have gotten into a lot of topics, and we get as specific as, Kinsey did one on soft tissue injuries the other day. We did one on ulcers that was really popular. And then we do the ones that are more like umbrella topics, like, conditioning your horse or equine nutrition, or, Ask a Dressage Judge was a really popular one. We've done a number that are specific to OTTBs. So those are all episodes that people can go back and listen to if they have curiosity around a specific topic, but also they're invited to tune in live. So if they have questions on that topic, they can be there and actually pick that person's brain. And then, yes, we have a Facebook community that's wonderful. The coaches are there. The members are there. The members are there to really cheer you on and celebrate your wins with you, because riding can be, kind of feel like a solo endeavor. It can get lonely. So to have this group of people to share the experience with, and, we get to appreciate each other's horse photos. It really has turned into just a very, very positive place. And then we do member video reviews every month too. So you can send in a video of you and your horse along with some, background information, a question, and whatever coach is hosting that member video review will be there and show up and answer your questions for you and provide whatever you're looking for, whether that's training insights or like bit recommendations or just general feedback on how your horse is going and what exercises that coach would recommend embarking on next. So you really do have more of a holistic support system, because a lot of our members are in the situation that you mentioned, which is their coach isn't readily accessible to them all the time. And even if they're getting, one lesson a week, there's a lot of room for added support and added expertise. So we try to fill in some of those holes.
Yeah. So there's just so much added value. It's not just the subscription to the app. And that's what I love with that group is it feels similar to our makeover trainers group, where it's just like a supportive group of people who all know what you're going through. And like, it's a safe place to vent and do your thing. The other thing I love in that group is I see the members like curating their own playlists, which I think is really cool. So talk to us about that. Like, how can you put a playlist together of your own lessons?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a functionality within the app to create custom collections. And in doing so, I mean, you could create anything under the sun. And we've seen some of our members be quite creative in the way they go about curating these collections. And it could be anything from all the lessons I want to take in the lead up to the makeover and really help me feel like I've now prepared because I've now covered all of these different topics and these skills and whatnot. And then it could also be, here are all the unmounted learnings that I want to kind of keep track of. And so I could listen to the next time I take a flight, the next time I have a long road trip. And the custom collections are just a really great way to organize the content for yourself in whatever order is going to work best for you. And also just like keep track of, here are the lessons I want to take. Here are my favorite lessons. And it would be great. One thing that we need to do that we haven't yet is like prompt our members to go and share their playlists with each other. And I think that's a really great thing for us to do next is like, what is your favorite playlist that you've created and how can we all go and take advantage of that? So the custom collections is just really useful from a user perspective on organizing the content.
I absolutely love it. Personally, I'm very excited. I'm going to go download this app because I'm typically by myself. I might get a lesson in once or twice, like having a full-time job, trying to play with my pony and keep her going. It can be difficult to get everything on the calendar. So this sounds like a great supplement for me. And I love that you have programs to bring the retired racehorse along, but you have a lot of listeners who have had their thoroughbreds and even standardbreds, and you have some who don't even have retired racehorses. They just love listening in. What are some of your favorite programs, like you personally, because I know there's a big menu to choose from outside of the retired race program. What are some of your personal favorites that you would recommend to any listener?
That's a great question. I mean, it really does come down to, like, a lot of the programs are specific to what you're working on. So if you're working on developing your lateral work, for example, Olympic dressage rider Gina Smith has a lateral work program that will take you from basics to more advanced lateral work. So you can kind of choose your program based on your horse type, whether that's like a green off the track thoroughbred or a green horse, or the skills that you're pursuing. I would say some of my favorite lessons in the app are, when we think of crowd pleaser type lessons, one that comes to mind was a recent lesson that John Holling did. He came up with this concept, but he's recording mental health rides that are kind of those, like, you had a rough day at work or you had a rough day at home and you are going to exercise your horse, but you also need to kind of unwind from the day. So he makes it a productive ride, but builds in like positive reinforcement for you as a rider and doesn't, it's not like a push ride. It's like, this is for your mental health and for, your horse's continued progress. And then another type of lesson that people really like are rider position lessons. So the coach focuses entirely on the rider's position throughout the ride, because of course we can harp on, my horse is hanging on my hands or they're behind the leg, and we're always critiquing their performance. But it's really cool to be able to focus an entire ride on what your biomechanics are. And we've had a number of coaches do those sorts of rides. So the direction they'll give you is, of course, they'll tell you like we're walking or trotting, let's say on a 20-meter circle. But then from there, they're helping you check in with your body from the top of your head to your toes, and just kind of continuing to reiterate that throughout your ride. Kinsey, what are some that come to mind for you?
The lesson that I always come back to is I want everyone to take it. It's Sinead Maynard's Mind Reading 101 lesson. And I just love that one because it was a totally new concept when she went and recorded it. And basically what she does in the lesson is she prompts you as the rider to basically try to talk telepathically with your horse. And she is like a firm believer that you can get there. And by the end of the lesson, she's like, you should be able to think trot and your horse should trot. And it's just like so much fun to start to think about different ways to communicate with your horse beyond just like the usual aids that we're used to. And the more that you can, even if that doesn't happen in the first time you go and take that lesson, the more that you try to work in that direction, I think you can really start to unlock new possibilities with your horse. So it's stuff like that are like totally new concepts that really excite me.
Okay, yeah, my curiosity is piqued for sure.
I know. I'm like, I feel like I
gotta go
need like a mental decompression ride, like someone to walk me through it. As a very type A high strung person, my horse would probably appreciate if I took a chill pill before riding her.
That is funny. That is like the most 2024 thing of like, we need someone in our ear to remind us to relax. But that's where we are as a culture. So that's fine. I love that. That's such a good idea though for John Holling. I love that idea. I need to get this I need to get on this for both me and Eric, because I coach my husband. So if you really want to talk about like a weird dynamic, which
I was
like
just
speaking
gonna
of
say, like Zach too. I was like, he would really like these. And
we coach our partners, and it's not a great move. But yeah, like speaking of interesting dynamics, so this is, I really wanted to ask this. You guys are sisters. How do you, like, my brother and I can't even coordinate like sending a Mother's Day card. So I don't know how you guys run like a really cool business together. So how does that work?
Yeah.
It's just a nosy question on my part.
No, it's not nosy at all. It's a lot of people. It's a question a lot of people have, which has always been a bit surprising to me. Like it has never been something that we've thought twice about. Like immediately upon coming up with the idea for RideIQ, we dove headfirst into it and haven't really looked back. And one thing that we always say, or that like I always think about, is with having a sibling or a sister as your co-founder through the ups and downs of it, and like the good days and the hard days, like you have decades of experience of going through these types of things with your sibling. And so it's almost easier than, in my opinion, it's almost easier than having like a co-founder who wasn't somebody that you've been very close to for 30 some years. And so it's been really great and just like so rewarding as we go through this, because our family is so involved and so supportive. And honestly, like I couldn't think about doing it any other way.
I love it.
Should I chime in too?
Yeah, I was like, well, let's hear Jess's side. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to disagree. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, Kinsey and I mean, being siblings, there's just that built-in trust, and there's the communication that happens so naturally. Like I think Kinsey and I have tons of friends who have co-founder relationships that are not siblings. And there's just more thoughtfulness behind like how certain conversations will be, embarked upon. And with a sibling, it's so easy to just like, be authentic and air whatever you need to air. And that's really worked in our favor. And interestingly, growing up, I always thought Kinsey and I were so similar because we have similar voices. I don't know if that's coming across, but we also have really similar interests. Like we've been like the horse thing has been our identities for as long as we've been exposed to horses, since we were 6 or 7. And so I saw that as us being super similar. But now working together, I realized that our skill sets and strengths are truly like mirror images of each other, which working as a duo is so incredibly helpful. I think it would be a lot harder if we had similar skill sets, because there's just more room for having to figure out navigating the overlap. Whereas with us, when tasks come up, it's incredibly clear who's going to be the right person for the job. And so that kind of helps with our efficiency too, but also avoids some of that confusion around, like who has the final say here, who's going to do what. So we're really fortunate in that sense. But yeah, it's always been important to me. Our family kind of dispersed across the country early when everyone went to college. We landed in all different states. It's always been important to me to find ways to like keep the ties strong with family. So now I live in Denver and Kinsey lives in Brooklyn and New York. And this is a way, of course, we're talking constantly and putting all of our efforts towards the same thing. This is a really special way for us to be able to keep the family bond tight.
I love that. That's so cool. It's just neat to see it work out. So I love that. So where can listeners go to get download, I guess, and get involved with RideIQ?
Ride-IQ.com is our website. And if you sign up, you'll get an automatic 2-week free trial. So you'll choose your membership and sign up, but then you get 2 weeks to totally dive into all of the content. You can join the Facebook group during that time. You'll be invited to the live events during that time. So you can get a full sense of what the membership is like before, committing to being a member. Membership costs $29.99 per month or $2.99 per year after that 2-week free trial if you decide to continue. And then the app itself is available for iPhone or Android. So you can find the RideIQ app in the App Store.
Nice, which is like a great deal. If you're accustomed to paying a bunch for lessons, that's a ton of amazing content for a really good deal. So that's very cool. Love that.
Yeah. And we also want to offer a special promotion for Retired Racehorse listeners and riders. And so for the month of May, we're offering a 20% off your first RideIQ membership payment using the code RRP20. And so for any of the listeners here or any of your friends, definitely feel free to share that. We're always looking for ways to support the Retired Racehorse community.
Well, thank you so much. That's very generous. Listeners, get on that. Tell them where you found us. And yeah, that's really cool. We'll put that in the show notes too for anybody who has a short-term memory like me and will not remember by the end of the episode what that code was. So Jessa and Kinsey, thank you so much for joining us. This was really, really cool. Hopefully our listeners all go out and get RideIQ because now I think Joy and I are probably going to do the same. So we will see you all over there.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Joy. We are so grateful to be able to have any involvement with what you guys are working on. You do such a spectacular job. So we'll be fans of yours forever.
And likewise.
Thank you. Same.
Cashel has been crafting top-notch products since 1986, designed to make your ride safer, more convenient, and downright enjoyable. From the Crusader Fly Mask, the ultimate fly mask, trusted by riders nationwide, to the blanket top performance felt pad with pressed felt with merino fleece. It's like a spa day for your horse's back. To the beautiful beaded halters, adjustable, durable, and gorgeous. Visit CashelCompany.com today and gear up for the ride of a lifetime. Cashel, where quality meets the saddle.
Well, I'm really excited because we have a new sponsor that will be starting with us. That is Savvy Feeders. And Kristen, you actually got to test this out. I'd love to hear what you've thought so far.
Yeah, they were super generous to send me a test model. So thank you guys for that, Savvy Feeder. I was able to, this is like a bonus that I thought, because I initially was asking Glenn, I was like, am I going to be able to pick this thing up? Like in my mind, I had this like giant heavy feeder. And I can tell you, I could very easily pick it up as like one horse girl left to her own devices, get it in and out of the backseat of a car, and set it up like, all on my own, like a big brave girl.
We like that.
Yeah, I do like that because seriously, like I don't want to do stuff that like I have to move with a tractor or like, wrestle it into the back of my truck or like something crazy. So it's like, it's definitely set up with the equestrian in mind. It was super easy to use. It comes with like a full little kit of instructions, so you don't go and, bust it trying to get it open the first time. But even without the instructions, I was like, oh, this is really easy to use. So you just flip it over, put your hay in, slide it shut, and set it out. And I would say too, like I set it out and I put some, of my most enticing hay in it just to, get them looking at it. And Shorty like walked right up and was like, sweet, and just started eating right out of it. So what I like is that it's freestanding. It's got a nice wide base so they can't tip it over. It's been sitting in the pasture and they've not knocked it down yet. And you've met my horses. They are destructive jerks. They've left it where it is. It is set up for like low head grazing, which is like a nice natural way for them to get hay. I always hate having like a high hay net, where they're having to hollow their backs and pull hay down. So I really like them to have their heads low to eat hay. And they're able to just pick it right out. It's a nice slow feeder. So it's not just them like, housing a flake of hay in 30 seconds. But they can still get it out at a good enough rate that they don't get frustrated. So it's super useful. And because it is so lightweight, I think we're going to take it to horse shows with us this summer and actually use it at the trailer.
That.
Yeah, it's really easy to use. So I love it. Highly recommended for listeners to look into that. So Savvy Feeder, thanks very much for sending us the tester. We enjoyed it. And we'll have some accompanying video on our social media too. So if you want to see this thing in action, keep an eye on us, Retired Racehorse Radio, on both platforms, Instagram and Facebook. Well, I love the summertime at Retired Racehorse Radio because we get to know our Making the Makeover riders all summer long. We have back with us again today, Jody and Chris. Jody, how is spring treating you up in the Great White North?
Well, we had spring for about 8 hours one day, and otherwise we're still pretty chilly.
Oh, no.
But I think there's a little bit of green out there, and the mud is starting to dry. We've been riding outside a little bit, and yeah, it's all looking up from here. That's for sure.
There you go. So you do have an indoor, so at least you can kind of keep things moving in the winter. That's helpful. How are the Mean Girls? I think we decided. I can't remember if we did that on air or off air last episode, but they're
we
the
did
Mean Girls
on
now.
air.
Yeah.
Yes.
Plastics. Yeah.
Yes. The plastics sort of mix. It's a bit of a mixed bag. We've lost one due to some lameness issues, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
So she's not going to be permanently retired necessarily, but she's going to go into a fairly lengthy period of rest and rehab. And her owner is super and doing all the right things and all the most amazing vet care. So she's not going to make it to the makeover, but she's got all the best care. So we're hoping that she'll be good in the long run. But the makeover is just not for every horse. And
right, for sure.
The others are doing good though, real good.
Yeah. Well, that's good that, the connections are doing the right thing and giving her the rehab and stuff she needs. And yeah, I think that's one of the most important takeaways is that the makeover doesn't work for everybody, but we don't try to make it work for everybody either. You just have to make a horseman's decision sometimes. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. So that's good. So
yeah. Nice. And sad for all of us because she was in some ways kind of the favorite, but it's got to do the right thing for the horse.
Oh, there's no favorites on the plastics, surely.
Yes, don't tell any of them I said that.
Right. Well, they're not listeners, so it's okay. Now, did you guys get out for an outing yet? I thought I saw you post something. They were being
We
silly.
did. Yeah, we got two of the girls, Sparrow and Smarty, off to a cowboy dressage show. Their first outing and their first show. So it was like about a 2.5-hour drive to the city of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And they just traveled really good. And they were great. It's a super horse friendly environment. I don't know if you guys know much about cowboy dressage, but it's dressage in a Western saddle, basically. But there's things like buddy horses that you can bring in, and there's in-hand tests. So we did a little bit of everything, and yeah, they were such good girls. Sparrow was a little bit wild, as a red thoroughbred should be at her first show. And Smarty just took it all in like a good girl. So lots of fun.
So can you put a buddy horse in the ring with you?
You can.
Oh, that's cool. That's really
Yeah.
green horse
I've never
friendly.
heard of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
like that.
we were real strategic about it. We made sure, because Sparrow and Sparty are in love with each other. And then also they had a 2.5-hour trailer ride. So they were
Lots of
really in love
bonding.
with each other.
Oh,
Yeah. So we just made sure that, one of them was in the arena while the other was showing for the most part. And yeah, in cowboy dressage, you can park a horse in every corner if you want. So we just, like when Sparrow was showing, we had Smarty go stand kind of by the scary judges stand, and that gave Sparrow the little boost of confidence that she needed to march down the center line and not be jigging side to side, looking at the judge. So yeah,
love that.
it's awesome discipline if you want to just, make your horse have a real good first show experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very strategic. I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's really cool for a green horse in particular. That's a neat idea that they let you do that. And that's very like horse first of an approach.
Mhm.
So nice.
Yeah.
I like that. So now are most of your shows like that far away? Like that's what I'm accustomed to traveling as well to get to ranch shows, but I could go to like a schooling show a lot closer. I could go to a barrel race very close, but like it is hard for me to find like the right discipline. Is that normal for where you are?
Yeah, I would say most of the places we'll be going with these guys are going to be in that 2-hour range. We've got one actually set for August that's going to be probably like more like 9 hours away.
Mm.
But
But then you have
there's
one in October that's many, many hours away. So it's probably
it's good
probably
practice
makes
for them
sense to
to
build
travel.
up to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
I love that. Cool. Well, yeah, that's great that you are getting the girls out and hitting the road and getting those important experiences in now. So kudos. Chris, I actually was thinking of you the other day because Jobber did a mission where I had him in the Ramel reins and he was tossing his head and he came very close to flipping one rein over his head. And I was like, oh, that's the thing that Chris said mission does. So yeah, I thought of you briefly and then got everything back under control again. So, yeah,
I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah, that's gonna like live rent free in my head forever. The fact that he does that, so that's great. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go back and listen to one of our earlier interviews with Chris about his 2023 show hunter champion who does that maneuver a lot. So Chris, how is your spring going? Have you gotten your 2024 hopeful off property or under saddle?
We're under saddle and
Hey.
riding at home. We haven't gone off property yet. Mostly just we're doing a lot of mowing the farm and getting, kind of spring ready for everything. But Quanah Dude, we've been going out and riding and having a little bit of fun that way, but haven't left the property yet.
Yeah, oh, right, because you guys are crazy people and take on your entire property yourself, right? So like all the maintenance and the babies and the training and the stalls and okay. Respect also.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of foal watch and rebreeding, and then last weekend I was in Knoxville doing a clinic, so it's been busy.
Yeah. Wow. How do you juggle all those pieces of your business? And it's okay if you say we don't also, but I'm just curious,
I sleep.
Yeah.
I sleep very well.
I was gonna say, I thought you were about to say you sleep very little. I was gonna be like, okay, also probably.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The last couple of weeks, I mean, we've slept a lot in the car in the barn. But we did have a foal the other day, and then I went to Knoxville and had a lovely evening in a hotel, and then came back and we're doing it again. We're going to be on night watch tonight as well.
Oh, geez. How many are you still expecting?
3.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna have your hands full for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Now you have a little bit of like a home field advantage when you do get Quanah Dude out because you are located in Kentucky, so you can like pop over to the horse park fairly frequently, can't you?
I can. We don't because it's very expensive.
Oh,
so
there you go. Okay, so it is actually self-limiting, huh? I didn't think about that. I'm just like, oh well, that's not fair. You can go to the horse park whenever you want, but actually, if it's expensive, no, nobody wants to do that. So
a lot of people think you live in Kentucky and I live at the horse park and all that kind of stuff, but for me, my horses actually get very little off-property experience as far as going to the horse shows because when I go to the show, I'm usually there with students and I'm working. And if I bring my horse, I don't make any money. And to just kind of, take a horse to hang out, you have the stall fees, which, will be $300 or $400, and then all the office fees and all the registration fees and things. So it really, if I want to bring one horse, I basically have to work for free, and that's not good for business.
Yeah. It is hard to I briefly was a professional, but I worked for a university program. So like all of the stuff, like that infrastructure was always paid for. So I didn't have to do like the hustle part of it. But yeah, it's funny because, like Joy and I are both adult amateurs or non-pros now. And we're like, oh, that'd be cool. But it's, yeah, the reality is you have to figure out how to make like a day pay. So I think that's a great consideration, to remember, like, yeah, it is money out of
I
your
mean, I
pocket.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't go to the horse show and pay the mortgage. So it has to be one or the other.
Yeah, fair.
So I get to see the horse park, but my horses don't.
Right. Well, you have such a good relationship with them. If you've seen it, you can just sort of, telepathically tell them it's all good. Right.
Usually by the time, if they survive the summer with me, they'll go anywhere. They'll be fine.
I was going to ask, because, you're a makeover veteran, Chris. So this is your normal strategy. Have you found that not getting them out and about hasn't been detrimental to your makeover performance? Because you tend to do well.
You know what? I think the biggest thing for me is just developing a relationship. And I don't feel like you can ever really prepare for the horse park. Getting out and about is wonderful, but every horse show grounds that you go to and every park that you go to in clinic or just a hack out and trail ride, there's going to be a different element to it. And I think the coolest thing about the makeover is you have to pair, the rider has to, wake up on the right side of the bed and your horse has to wake up on the right side of the bed at the same time on the same day and be ready to perform. And matching those life experiences is next to impossible. So, as a rider, you might be nervous and your horse might not, or your horse might be nervous and you're not. So I don't think you can really, optimize the preparation for the horse park and for the makeover. So you just kind of have to be ready to roll with it. And that's what I do. We just, it is what it is.
No, I think it's great because how many, especially amateurs who are going, or maybe someone who's their first time, like we've seen different reasons people can't get out and about, whether it's the horse or their work schedule, or just there aren't a lot of spaces around them to do that. I think that's a great message to be able to share and give people like, oh, I'm not behind if I only get out 2-3 times before the makeover. Maybe the makeover is the first time you get out. Like, who knows?
And I think
even last year.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, even last year, I mean, the horse that won the show hunters, Mission Canyon, he was so wonderful on the first day. And warming up, the girl that did my braiding, she's a student of mine, and I was getting a leg up, for the finale and going to warm up, and we'd walk the course, and she legs me up and we go to walk off, and I look at her and she looks at me and we both go, uh-oh. And I literally, in my warm up, I got run off with. For whatever reason, he was super excited and just thought this was grand and wonderful. And we literally walked into the finale and I was like, well, we're here. We might as well. And watching the video back, he comes to fence one and just jumps it absolutely incredible. And we all thought for sure I was going to get bucked off, and he didn't. He was such a pro, but I was literally warming up and got run off with. So if you're feeling behind, it will probably feel that way as you're walking into the ring.
You'll always feel behind. I was just going to say, I think, Chris, the key here is that, you emphasize the relationship building. It's not like, oh, you just, turn the horse out and hack him around and then take him to the makeover and expect everything to be great. Like, so I think there's a fine line, right, between like preparing and making sure the horse has like the outings and the show experience and the this and the that. And then also like the flip side is people who would like only ride at home and don't really work on the confidence building and that relationship and then come to the makeover and have a wreck, So it's like, there's a middle ground.
I don't think you're ever going to be prepared for. Absolutely.
Right.
Well, Jody, how about you? Like, what are some of your tips and tricks of how you like to build relationships with your horses?
Well, I'd sure like to find a jumbotron to practice with, because that's something at the makeover that the 2 times that I've been there, my horse's eyes have just about popped out of their head when they first see that. So I don't know. If you have a Jumbotron at home and you're going to the makeover, ride your horse around.
I wonder if you could
Jumbotron.
get like a big sheet and a projector though. Like, could you?
maybe
Someone
make
has
sense.
suggested that. Yeah, and maybe I'll have to try that.
Because then it will flutter too in the wind. Like you can really make it scary.
I think it's like when they see the horse in the Jumbotron. It's weird
Yes.
because we always say like, oh, he recognized himself, but I don't think that's what's happening. Like I don't think they can recognize that is
I think they
them.
just see a horse
But they're
shape
just like,
and they're
whoa,
like, are you,
there's a horse
are
on
you
the
good
wall.
horse
Yeah.
or bad horse? Stranger
Yeah.
danger.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah,
coming at me or right.
It's you see it like over and over and over again
Mhm.
in the covered arena there. The horses see themselves on the Jumbotron and lose it. But more seriously, I guess like the sciencey word, because I like the sciencey stuff sometimes, is overshadowing. And so just teaching the horse to really reliably do some behavior, for me it's a circle, that they will do no matter what. So it's kind of like if you have your dog and you just teach the dog to lie down. So if all hell breaks loose, you can just yell, lie down, and the dog will lie down. And so for me, that's the circle with the horse, or sometimes like a box, standing the horse on a box, but usually a circle. And if you can get your horse to just focus on your inside leg, a lot of things can happen around you, and they'll keep it together. So I think that's my main strategy, is to just get that just so reliable that no matter what happens, if I put that inside leg on, they'll just go in a circle and look to the middle, and they don't care what's going on outside.
I love that. Yeah. And I think like you guys are both hitting on like the keynotes here is like you don't have to, have gone out and won, 18 tricolors at such and such circuit all year. You just have to have a good relationship with your horse. And that, I think that applies whether you're going to the makeover or any other, big year-end kind of goal. Like, we always do this series for the makeover, but it can really like represent so many other journeys that we're all taking with our horses. So
I mean, it might be just your first hack, like you're going out on your first trail ride with a group of friends. It can be any size milestone for your horse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good
yeah,
stuff,
definitely.
Man. I'm all inspired now.
I know. I'm going to go give my horse a cookie after this. Speaking of, now that you've had some time with your horses, you're getting the chance to play with them. Jody, I know you have a slight head start on Chris. Chris, we're only slightly shaming you for it. What are some of the unique quirks and personality traits you've seen come out of your horses as they're starting work? And Chris, since I picked on you, I'll start with you.
I told you last time, my horse is kind of boring. Like he's so well behaved and he's
just still steady Eddie.
Yeah, he just tolerates me like it's his job. He's wonderful.
Well,
I really can't complain. He's just a lovely creature.
At least he's consistent. That is a nice plus to have. As he's coming into work, he's consistent. And what are his favorite treats? I have to know, so I'm prepared.
He doesn't like them.
Horses. He doesn't like treats.
Yeah, no.
We'll surely fix that by the makeover.
Yeah,
because I just remember
work on that, Chris.
Yeah, you were standing there and you're like, "Look out, Mission bites!" And then I watched you put 18 mints in his mouth, and I was like, "I wonder why he bites."
Okay, well, nobody likes to work for free, so
okay, fair. So you just haven't figured out his currency yet. That's all.
Correct. Yeah, he's very picky, apparently.
Okay. Well, we know he probably at least likes his feed. So maybe he's just like my boyfriend, he doesn't like desserts and sugar despite working for a pie company. Like, he's a very holistic, healthy guy, likes his 3 meals a day. Maybe that's your horse.
Who doesn't like dessert? That's awful.
Well, you can shame him later when we visit you, but I was just trying to make your horse feel better about his pickiness.
Maybe he just doesn't like treats from me. Maybe he thinks it's a trick.
If I give your horse a treat when I come to visit, I'm going to put it on the internet just so you know, so everyone knows that you lied.
I will be the first one to like it.
All right, Jody, how about you? You have your plastics. Are they mirroring the plastics, or are their personalities a little bit softer?
Well, when I come out with their food, they're definitely the bean girls.
To each other.
Yeah. So they're all in a pen together, and Red Sparrow is hilarious when she sees me coming, and I got to get a video of it. She just rears, like she just stands up on both two legs and she rears and waits for the food to come. And then when the food comes, I can't get them down on the ground soon enough. And then she has to chase everyone around for a little while. And then everyone settles and eats. And so, yeah, she's definitely.
So we know who Regina George is. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely. And then, Smarty's kind of she's kind of going to be the one. I think she's going to be our little ugly duckling that turns into the most beautiful swan.
Aww.
She was sort of she had the big fuzzy winter coat and it's finally coming out. And she had condition wise, she had no muscle and now she's sort of gaining some muscle. So she's going to be the, the girl with the glasses, and then you take the glasses off and she's so pretty.
She's more of a Princess Diaries.
Yeah. She's just so sweet. But on the food note, this is was really interesting to me. So Red Sparrow is definitely your alpha mare, boss mare girl. So we're at this horse show and they're in their stalls, and the stalls are open in the front so they can pop their heads and look out. And we fed them each a square bale net. So they each had a whole square bale to eat as much as they wanted. And Smarty ate twice as much as Sparrow did. And I was actually wondering, I was starting to get a little worried that maybe Sparrow was, off her feed or sick or something. And I noticed Smarty's just in the corner, just eating the whole time, just chomp, chomp, chomp. And Sparrow has got her head out the entire time watching everything. She's just eagle eye, nothing was happening that she wasn't paying attention to. So she just didn't have time to eat. She's busy. She's busy surveying the surroundings. So, and I've noticed that even since then at home that she just watches everything that's going on in the barnyard. So she's a little character, that one.
It is really fascinating, when your horses live in a group like that, just to watch her dynamics, because Jobber's very much the same way. He's the watcher, but he's also the one that runs the show. And I don't know if he's looking out for his buddies, only he's allowed to beat up on them, or what the deal is, but he's always looking around, and you're dude, nothing is happening. So yeah, it's fun to watch, herd dynamics at work like that. That's funny.
Yeah, just relax and go eat. That's why you're skinny. Skinny thoroughbreds, because they're too busy watching everything.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they're just too busy to be bothered. I think we're gonna have to talk our nutrition plans next time. So I'll give you guys a heads up. We'll talk about, because that's always questions we get. It's what are people feeding their thoroughbreds that's working for them? So we'll tackle that next episode, I think, to chat about nutrition and feed and all that good stuff, because that'll be really
I think that'd be great to hear of how do you help them basically get sport horse fit through nutrition. I have a lot of questions for both of you since you're the pros here.
Yeah. So
mine's just fat, but I'm curious.
Well, Chris and Jody, as always, it is lovely to catch up with you guys. Jody, we'll start with you. Where can people follow your makeover journey in case this is their first time tuning in?
So we've got all the horses and all our adventures on Facebook and Instagram. And if you look up Good Start OTTB training on either of those, you will find us there.
Lovely. And I am following along and watching. You posted a very delightful picture of them mutual grooming each other at the horse show. I thought that was very sweet.
Oh, they were so cute. They did that for a long time. It was very sweet.
Oh, that's funny. Girls, you're in public. My goodness.
They love each other.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It wouldn't be no fun to bring two horses to a show that hated each other. But I am with you in the, oh no, now they're too attached camp. That's what happens to me every time we get on the trailer. So I felt your pain. Chris, how about you? Where can people follow along with you and your adventures?
I've given the exclusive to this podcast. I'm not posting anything.
Oh, I love that. That's fine. All right. Chris will remain an international man of mystery on the internet. You can find him here only at Retired Racehorse Radio and at the Makeover. So we'll see everybody there to watch the Chris Bennings show.
Yes.
With Retired Racehorse Radio. Well, Jody and Chris, thank you so much. We will catch up with you again in a couple of weeks and see what you're up to then. Have a good one.
Flies are the natural enemy of horses and their riders, which makes us ultra grateful for Spalding Labs. Take a listen on how you can keep your horses happy and healthy with Spalding Labs.
Easy, effective, and eco-friendly fly control starts with fly predators. Fly predators are the organic, natural way to dramatically minimize your fly problem, saving you and your horse from battling them all season long. Take it from our 23,000 plus 5-star reviews. Fly predators are the natural fly control that works. Learn more about fly predators and other Spalding Labs fly control solutions at spalding-labs.com.
Equine Network is proud to present Ride TV. Learn a little more about them now.
You can enjoy your favorite equine videos all in one place with Ride TV, the ultimate equine streaming platform. The newly relaunched Ride TV has all the series you love, like mini horses and ridiculous ranches, plus top-tier training videos and event footage from Horse and Rider On Demand and BarrelRacing.com. Live the action, learn from the pros, love the stories. Subscribe to Ride TV today for only $19.99 to see where your ride takes you. Visit ridetvgo.tv to subscribe.
Well, it is that time of the show where we have new Vocations join us. And today we have Winnie Morgan Nemeth. Welcome back, Winnie.
Hello. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you. And for any new listeners, Winnie really handles the standardbred side of things at New Vocations because, yes, it is not just thoroughbreds, it is standardbreds too. All retired racers are welcomed here. And what I'm really excited about is I'm currently rehabbing my thoroughbred. Most listeners know I don't have a standardbred, although I low-key claim Kristen Standardbred West someday. I'm taking him.
He is currently not available. Just going to put that out there. He is mine. He's never leaving.
It's just on the manifestation list. So he's in there. Living vicariously through Kristen, that West is also my horse. But I'm curious, as I'm rehabbing my thoroughbred currently, I'm curious of what are some of the ride times as you're helping these horses gain their strength? Like, what's an average ride duration and how do you build incrementally to get to that, hour-long trail ride, or maybe you're going the sport horse direction? Like, it doesn't come overnight. So I'm curious, what are your recommendations to help them build that top line strength and to support a rider without overwhelming them?
Sure. That's a really good question. Most of the standardbreds do learn very quickly if they are, in capable hands. And when we first start them and the first day, them getting tacked up, learning to stand at the mounting block, and then somebody laying over top of them, that might be like a 15 to 20 minute session. And that's it. Not a rider getting on them just getting used to the saddle, the mounting block is a big thing for them because they've never seen anything like that. And they're usually in an arena. They haven't seen an arena. So usually we like to keep those sessions, even if it's the first time they walk into arena and maybe watch some other horses ride around. That's a huge, huge new thing for them. That could just be 10 minutes. So let them experience that and see how they settle down. And then the next day, do maybe 15 minutes and let them stand and watch. And so when we do the second day, we'll tack them up, walk them around, maybe teach them to lunge. It's usually an average about 15 to 20 minute sessions when they're first learning to accept a rider. Once they're they're walking forward with a rider, no leaders leading them around, again, keeping those sessions to under 30 minutes for the first few weeks just helps them connect with what you're asking them. They're learning, what it's like to be in an arena, which again, that's more difficult for them than throwing a saddle on and walking outside. They're walking outside, they're following usually like a driveway or a path. They're very used to that. But when you're in the arena, you can work on things like bending, teaching them to give to the bit, and teaching them to, like, when you squeeze, that they learn to walk off. And all of those are very simple, easy things that can be done, in under 20 minutes. So, but it keeps them thinking, what are you asking them to do? Thinking, what's this rider asking me to do? And a lot will depend on how they're accepting all of that. But normally, like keeping the rides under 20 minutes is really, really good for the first few weeks starting out.
I think that's a great example. And I mean, it would be the same with any green horse you're bringing in too. It's not even just physical strength, it's mental too, and helping them find that balance and their confidence. But I think 20 minutes is great. And what do you recommend to slowly, like you said, the first couple of weeks, do you recommend like a 10-minute increase, a 15-minute increase, or is it dependent on the horse?
It really does depend on the horse. I mean, we've had horses that maybe had 2 or 3 rides and then they got adopted and the adopter took them on a trail ride. Like they went out maybe a couple mile trail ride, but that horse was following another horse, which makes it easier. They're used to that. You're just asking them to walk, go forward. You're not asking them to like bend and do circles and do transitions like you would in an arena. So again, going on a trail ride and just getting them outside where they're very used to being outside, walking around, is very easy for them. And most of them have the stamina and they're fit enough to carry a rider. They're just learning how to balance the weight, which is one thing that they do have to learn to do on a trail ride. But that's why people love them, because it's pretty much like after they know how to handle a rider, they could go walking all day long. Like, they're really happy doing that. But it's when we start asking them in this arena work, that's the part that's so new to them. Standing in a mounting block. Whoa, what's that? That's the kind of stuff that throws them off a little bit, where it takes time, versus, and the horse will tell you. We really do go off of like what the horse is happy and comfortable doing.
I know, like, as I'm, increasing our ride times in the spring, I used to pay a lot more attention to like cardio. Like, does the horse sound like he's breathing really hard? Maybe then we need to scale back. And I found that like with these race horses, they're all just seem to have so much natural stamina that I don't really go off of that anymore. And now I end up going off a lot more of like, how does your body feel after the ride and the next day? Like, are you sore somewhere? And I'm trying to assess more that way than waiting for the horse to get tired, because sometimes they just don't get tired. They're like, we can keep going forever. Yeah. And then you can abuse it really easily. Yeah. Standardbreds, thoroughbreds they have a lot of go. So yeah, it's listening to the horse, but listening in different ways than I have been, because I've been a little kind of one track with that. So yeah.
Right.
Well,
and they're all different.
For sure. Right. I was going to say, speaking of trail rides, I was just watching the video of our adoptable horse this week. This guy, Let's Go Bucks, he looks awesome. Winnie, tell us a little bit more about him.
Well, he is awesome. Let me tell you, I had the opportunity to work with him for 4 days of Equine Affair in Columbus, Ohio, just a few weeks ago. And he had to come because we had our other horses that were slated to come got adopted. So Let's Go Bucks had to, just come and do what standardbreds do. And he had to do his first demo, and we let him with no rider on Thursday, which means, going through the crowds, walking to the Coliseum at the Ohio State Fairgrounds, walking around by yourself in there and walking out, which he handled like a pro. He adores people, which is not always characteristic of a standardbred. He loves attention. He loves having his tongue out, and he loves people to pull on it. I know we've talked about that a couple times on the show, how they tie their tongues, and so sometimes they get used to sticking their tongue out to the side. He loves that, but he is that like horse that wants to just put his head in your arms all day long, or just stand there and you groom him all day long. He's just happy as can be. He retired sound. He had a great racing career. He's a war horse. let me see here. He raced 202 times. He earned almost $500,000. He was very well cared for by his owners. They really loved him. You can definitely tell that he just loves attention. He's going to be suited to do almost anything. On Saturday of Equine Affair, we threw a rider up on him, which was exactly his third ride. He stood perfectly out the mounting block to get on. And then we let him during his demo as they talked about him. And he was wonderful. Stood perfectly, waited to go in, walk, stop. Rider got off, no problems. And again, loved all the attention, and the crowds didn't bother him at all. Really, really, really nice horse.
Third ride at Equine Affair. That's awesome.
Yes, he was a real trooper.
Oh, that's so cool. I was just watching his trail ride video that you guys put on his page at the website, and he's just so chill. That one car goes by, and I know, like, when you're in the car, you think you're going really slow. And when you're on the horse, you're like, oh my God, slow down. And that car went by kind of fast. And he was just like, okay. Like, what a guy.
Oh, yes. He doesn't mind that at all. He just has an amazing temperament. He just wants to please. He's walking and trotting under saddle, although he raced. He is a trotter. Yeah, he did race on the trot. So that's what I said. He's got a beautiful trot. It's been very easy for him. Everything's been really easy for him. And he's just, again, I can't speak enough about his temperament. Just such a kind, sweet horse.
People, if you are turned off by a plain brown wrapper, first of all, don't be. And second of all, go meet this guy. Because I know, sometimes you look and you're like, oh, well, they're all just bay. Okay, well, bays are great. This guy's super cute, clearly has a lot of personality, and sounds like he's pretty much ready to go anywhere. If he's already done Equine Affair and is trail riding around at home, there's not a whole lot else that you can probably throw at him that he's not going to be able to do.
No.
So love that.
And he's gorgeous. I mean, he has a huge eye, a big jaw, this just wisdom all over his face. That's all I can say.
That standardbred owl look where they're just like, I'm smarter than you. Yeah, I love that. He has it. He's rocking it.
Yeah.
Super
He's
cool.
got it. He's special.
For that big old adoption fee of just $1,500. So as always, a huge bargain in today's economy. How many times am I going to say that in my life? But regardless, this guy is up for a great adoption price. And of course, with an adoption from New Vocations, you get all the medical history they have and that whole support network. So totally worthwhile. Check him out at horseadoption.com. And we will also feature him, of course, on our social media, unless he is adopted first, which happens a lot. So if you guys are listening to this and he's still available, get on it, because he's not going to last very long.
That's
Winnie,
right.
thank you so much for joining us. And we will look forward to seeing what Brutus does next. What a guy.
I know, he's so cute.
You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website at horseradionetwork.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram, just search for Retired Racehorse Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. You can find me on Instagram at The Horseback Rider and on Facebook at Jobber Bill, Racehorse to Ranch Horse. My email is kristen@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me on Instagram at Misfit Mare, and my email is joy@horseradionetwork.com. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, Savvy Feeders, and Spalding Labs, and to our media partners, New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program and the Retired Racehorse Project. Don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, at horseradionetwork.com. Remember to set your goals high and love to learn from every ride.
And always add more leg.
Bye, guys.